Good morning, Barney, and good morning, everyone. It's fantastic to be here again for the Forever Fest in the city of Greater Dandenong. We're on day 5. How phenomenal has this week been? I can't believe it. I can't believe we're on day 5 already. I hope you enjoyed yesterday, day 4, when we were learning about energy and buildings. And for me, that was really important to spend that time speaking with Darren Wilson and the team in the city of Greater Dandenong to learn how we can become much more energy efficient and reduce our energy bills, because, well, we all want to save a few dollars, especially coming into winter. And I took one of Darren's tips on board, and last night, before I went to bed, I turned the heater off. And then when I got up this morning, I turned it on. I was in bed, I was warm, I didn't need it on, and I know this winter my energy bill is going to be a lot lower because of it. Thanks for Darren, I'll take those extra bucks in the pocket. Handy. But today I'm here because in the Alex Wilkie Nature Reserve, because there's a few things that I want to learn about to take with me to Mars. I took the energy efficiency stuff, messages from Darren, that was great. But today I want to meet with Alex Moodie here in the Alex Wilkie Nature Reserve in Dandenong, where am I? In Springvale, to learn a bit about biodiversity. And why is that? Because when we go to Mars, we don't know what life on Mars might look like. There could be a couple of little Marvins there. There may not, we don't know. And so I want to understand, if we do interact with life on Mars, that we can do it in such a way that protects it and makes sure it's there for all of us, so we have a sustainable planet. And so Alex, if you could just share with me a little bit about how in the city of Greater Dandenong we try and protect our biodiversity here. What do you do?
Sure. Well, welcome to Alex Wilkie Nature Reserve.
Thank you. It's amazing.
Alex Wilkie Nature Reserve is a patch of remnant vegetation.
Vegetation.
Yeah, which is the vegetation that would have been here before all the houses and roads and businesses and schools were built.
Right.
So this is how the area would have looked.
That's amazing. You don't sort of think about that. Like in our urban environments, we don't realise that there could be patches like this out there that we can get an insight into the history of the land.
Yeah, they are. They're really important. They're important for history. They're important for identity, and they're important for historical reasons.
And when it comes to the history as well, I mean, I think about, like, I love bird life. I'm a huge fan of bird life, and I've seen some extraordinary birds here this morning since we've been at the nature reserve. Why is it important for us to try and protect these sorts of spaces?
Sure. Well, spaces like this are part of the natural environment that is Earth. They help support biodiversity. They provide safe havens and homes for wildlife, like the birds you mentioned, all the insects in the ground, our fluffy possums. We have possums here, but in other spaces like this we have other animals. You might be able to go see koalas and kangaroos and other animals, but they're extremely important because they provide a function, and those functions are really important for Earth's survival.
Right. So if we take any of these sorts of creatures, whether they be the bugs or the fluffy possums, out of that picture, what might happen?
So I kind of think of ecosystems as a jigsaw puzzle. Yeah. And if you take one piece out of the middle, it affects all of the pieces around it. Right. And if you then take out those pieces, it will affect the pieces around it again, and so on and so on. Wow. It's a big flow-on effect.
Right. So if we think about things such as the bugs, for example, like I think bugs are so fascinating. Some of them are pretty ugly looking, but others are really cool with their colours and that. How do they fit into that sort of picture?
They play a really huge role in the environment. They do a range of functions to help pollinate plants. So before the European honeybees were here, we had native pollinators. They were bugs, they were native bees, they were dragonflies, they were all sorts of things. Not just bees.
There you go. I always thought it was bees that were the main pollinators. Well, I didn't know that heap of other stuff.
Male mosquitoes are actually one of the leading pollinators.
No way. There you go. I've learned something brand new today. Male mosquitoes are one of the main pollinators.
They play a very huge role.
Don't slap those mosquitoes. They could be very important to ensure that we can eat our food and have beautiful plants.
Yeah. They also do important things like break down the leaf litter that is on the ground.
Right.
And that's turning it into nutrients that are then available for the plants to use, so that we have this succession of life in the life cycle.
Wow, that's amazing. And it's fantastic to see the city of Greater Dandenong taking such leadership in protecting our environment by having places such oasis like here at the Alex Wilkie Nature Reserve. What are some of the things that we can do at home to make sure that we can also be protecting our environment?
Yeah, sure. So I think first and foremost it's important to come out and enjoy these spaces. Get out and explore and learn about them and come out and see all those little things taking place out in the environment. I feel like we've lost our connection with these sorts of spaces. We don't own the earth, we're a part of it, and if we're not a part of this side of the earth as well, then we're not a part of life in general, and we can be a bit disjointed in our busy lives, and these sorts of spaces are great for mental health and physical health as well, so they are really important to all of us.
Yeah, and I mean, just today, just being here in the nature reserve, I'm so much more relaxed than I was just trying to get here. It's just to be here and hear that wind through the trees and stand on the earth. We're so fortunate, and I know when we get to go to Mars, if I'm lucky enough to be chosen to go, I'll be in a spacesuit all the time, so I'll never get to feel the wind in my hair and the sun on my skin. Yeah. So what a gift this is, and how fantastic we can do that here in the city of Greater Dandenong. Our homes as well with that sort of thing?
Certainly. I think it's really important for everyone to interact with nature.
Yay.
I think getting out and about and enjoying nature and seeing that it's not scary, and that sometimes it's okay to get dirty hands and muddy feet. That's all part of the fun. But I think coming out and really being in these spaces and enjoying them brings about a connection. And connection is everything. And in our busy lives, we have stepped away from that connection to the earth we live on. And I think it's important to remember that we don't own the earth. Nobody does, and it belongs to everybody. And we need to be connected to it. It's our lifeblood. And in a similar sense, our native plants and animals have the same connection to the earth, and they deserve to have these safe places as well.
So it's our shared home, really, between us as all of our different diversity of our community of people, with the diversity of our beautiful native flora and fauna as well. Now I know I saw online that you guys did a pretty cool thing here last year called the Biodiversity Blitz. Can you tell me a bit about that? Because I think there was a lot of interaction with nature with that.
Sure. So we set up a bit of a competition, which, always gets those competitive feelings get going, but basically we were trying to encourage everyone to get out and about. It didn't necessarily mean you had to come into areas like Alexandra Nature Reserve. It could be done at home, in your own garden, or in your school grounds, or even just while you're walking down the street.
Right.
But basically what we wanted to do was get people connected again. We wanted to open their eyes to what's out here and what they can see while they're going about their business. So it was a simple process of using the iNaturalist app.
So an app, so they had to find it on their phone.
So it's a readily available on the iTunes or app stores. It's called iNaturalist.
iNaturalist. We'll put that in the action kit. So look for iNaturalist and hook on that when we finish watching this.
And what you do basically is you just open the app and you take photos of everything that you see.
Oh, cool.
Now we're not bothered about what that is as long as it's alive and as long as it's part of what's natural on Earth. It could be bugs, it could be just leaves on the ground, it could be trees, it could be anything. And what that does is actually feed information back to people like myself and the crew and other land managers to put together the missing pieces of the puzzle as to what's living where, and what's around and where it's living, which helps us understand things. It helps put the puzzle back together so we can see how things are adapting in the new world. It allows us to identify where we might need to do more work or protect certain species, or just see how some species are spread out across the landscape.
That's really interesting. And you mentioned bugs before. Like, I love bugs. I think bugs are so interesting. I know that if I'm lucky enough to be in the first crew that go to Mars, I've been told that bugs are going to be part of our food system, but they're not just part of what we will be eating. I think they're going to be important for so many other parts of our environment. How are they useful here on Earth as well?
Bugs, beetles, insects in general play really huge roles in our natural environment. They pollinate our plants.
Of course.
Most of our plants are not pollinated just by bees.
Right.
Particularly in native areas such as Alex Wilkie Nature Reserve, honeybees are introduced. So we had pollinators well before honeybees were here. The native ones are crucial because they have evolved together with the plants. They're supporting pollination of the plants. They provide food sources to birds and other animals. They're also decomposers. So they break down this plant material that you might see on the ground, all the leaf litter, into nutrients and make it available to plants to be able to take up and grow and succeed and continue on with these processes.
Right. Wow, they're almost like a foundation to this incredible natural
They really
system.
are. And they're cool.
And they're so cool. I don't know if you've ever seen, folks, some pictures of some of the incredible bugs that we have, the colours, and are just amazing.
Yeah, it really is. And, you know, we don't know everything. We probably never will know everything, but every little bit helps in trying to understand the jigsaw puzzle of an ecosystem. What role does everything play and how are they all connected?
So if I was trying to set up this new society on Mars, because if I'm lucky enough to get to go in 10 years' time, my job will be helping to be part of putting a new community together on Mars. And so while we'll be living inside most of the time, we'll be having to look after a little ecosystem indoors. Bugs are part of that. What are some of the things I'd need to think about first up? If I wanted to set up a new community on Mars, how do I look after that ecosystem from the biodiversity side?
Yeah, I think a good place to start is remembering what I mentioned earlier, that we don't own anything, we share it.
We share.
And we are all visitors.
Mm.
You know, we're not here forever. Mm-hmm. We're visitors on this land, and it's important to remember that we will leave it to somebody else or something else.
Yeah.
And respect is a big part of that. Respect that things have a place and that they do belong, whether they're ugly or smelly or scary or nasty or venomous or not.
Yeah.
They have a place and they have a role. And they're all part of that process. So I would be probably trying to understand what was there.
What was there?
Yeah. Mm. What roles do they play? How are they connected?
Yeah.
And it would be a sensitivity.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I think if we take it from that perspective, like try and learn about it, like for Mars, we don't know if there's a Marvin there or some other sort of life form. So we need to make sure that we do look after that environment, try and learn about it as much as we can in a way that's sensitive and respectful for that environment. And I know that the rovers that are there at the moment that are doing some of the research to understand is there life on Mars will help us know that, so that when we go there to start with as humans, we've got a better understanding of what we're going to be interacting with. Just like here at the Alex Wilkie Nature Reserve and here in the city of Greater Dandenong, we're trying to do a bit of that here as well, to understand what we're doing locally, how we can protect our local environment here in this amazing, amazing nature reserve, and how we can look after life on Earth. I hope you can join me tomorrow, because I want to say a huge thank you, Alex. I've learned so much. I didn't know we had so many pollinators here in this area before the bees came. So that's just brilliant. But tomorrow, I'm going to be putting this on. I'm lucky enough to be outdoors today, so I don't need a mask. But tomorrow, this is coming on because I'm going to be going to meet with the team to learn a bit more about sustainable transport, because life on Mars, to get to Mars, 7 months one way in a tin can, we're probably going to be pretty close together. So I might be needing one of these here and there, but I want to know how I can do it in the most sustainable way for our journey on Mars, as well as there and here on Earth. Thanks, Alex.
Thank
Catch
you
you soon. See you tomorrow, guys.
Bye.